The $1,000,000 question: how do entrepreneurs transition from self-employed to owning a business that turns a profit? My name is Chris Waters, and this podcast has the $1,000,000 answer. Welcome to CEO Secrets. Hey guys, it's Chris Waters, your host of CEO Secrets. I am super excited today. I've got an incredible guest. Most of you guys probably know Tristan from Lab Coat Agents. It is the largest Facebook group for real estate agents across the country. Tristan, you probably get asked this all the time, but like, where did the idea for this Facebook group come? And did you originally intend to go out there and build the largest real estate Facebook group?
Yes and yes.
Okay.
When I started it was because I was speaking for Realtor.com nationwide, and I was speaking about conversion online leads, and it was a newer thing. And so I kept on getting asked the same question over and over. And I'm like, hey, you know what? I need a platform to be able to answer this so that people can get more value from this. And so I asked my wife, I'm like, hey, what do you think I should do? Blog or maybe something else? She's like, do a Facebook group. And I wasn't on Facebook that much then. And I was like, Facebook group. So I was like, okay. So I started a Facebook group, and me and my ISA at the time, Jake, sat in a room, and I said, Jake, so this is what I want. I want to offer value to the agents, but I want it to be processes and systems, and I want it to be more like we're scientists. Mm-hmm. And so we shut the door, 2 hours. We both came out with Lab Coat Agents, exploring the science of real estate. And as soon as I got out of that door, I said, dude, we're going to grow to 100,000, okay? And he laughed, and here we are at 110,000.
That's awesome. How much are you growing now? Like, are you at this point where you're not growing quite as fast because you're already so big?
Dude, it's still the same speed, which is insane.
Wow. Okay. How fast? Like, how many new people do you add per month?
We get about 2,000 a month.
Wow.
Without doing a single thing.
That's wild.
That's and if we tried, we'd probably get a few more.
Yeah.
But you know, and we reject probably like a third of everybody who comes in because they don't answer questions, or we don't know if they're a real estate agent, or their profiles on Facebook aren't really clear. So a third of the people we don't let in.
So beyond Lab Coat Agents, I mean, you were and you still are. You're a very successful agent in Malibu,
yep.
But you made the transition of building out a team, and you've got a really successful real estate team in Malibu now, right?
Yeah, I have a successful team in Los Angeles, in Ventura County. They're both connected, and I live in the Malibu area, so you know we cover Malibu and Westlake, Calabasas, and all that. But I started off I grew up in Los Angeles, so I didn't go very far. And I started off as a real estate agent back in 03, 04. Mm-hmm. And I did really well with everybody being able to purchase a home that was alive at the time, right? And then it tanked. So I shifted. I had to shift. And when I shifted, I happened to shift onto Craigslist leads, right? Yep. And because there was no limit to Craigslist,
yep.
One thing that I benefited from it was being able to get as many leads as I wanted. And that created problems for me because I had no systems or processes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that helped me create processes and systems so that when I did get Realtor.com leads, when I went all in on Zillow and Google and Facebook, I already had the processes and systems to succeed.
So, Tristan, do you compete with those guys on $1 Million Agent?
I do, man. I see them all the time.
Yeah.
I talk to them. A couple of them are my friends.
Yeah.
We text back and forth.
Who's your favorite one of the guys that are on the LA?
You know, my favorite one has to be Madison Hildebrand from Malibu.
Yeah.
They're all pretty cool guys, but just Madison for me, he's always been a little bit more down to earth, easygoing. Those guys, they're all interesting guys, but Madison's probably hits that mark for me.
Man, I love Southern California. Like, the weather is amazing. I guess the one thing that I was kind of surprised by when I went to Southern California was how dry it is out there. Like, it looks like the desert.
Dude,
a little bit, you know?
It's dry.
Has it always been like that, or is it just the...
No, it's always been like that. Every once in a while it rains a little bit here and there, but most of the time the humidity, very low humidity, right? Water's freezing. It's not like the East Coast where the water's warm.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, it gets cold at night, man. Nobody believes me, but it gets cold. It gets like the 40s, high 30s.
Can you disclose what the biggest celebrity name is you've worked with?
Not the biggest one, but I can tell you we've helped out the Wu-Tang Clan.
Oh, that's cool.
You know, that was
awesome.
That was freaking fun. So check this out. I get a lead at the time, Realtor.com. Here, I'll tell you a few of them now that you got me going on this. So Realtor.com lead, here it comes. And I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Who's this? I have no idea who it is because it's the wife of Robert, Bobby. And he's the guy that was the head leader of the Wu-Tang Clan. And so I get this lead and I'm like, okay, yeah, I call her. We set it all up. She gives me no indication that her husband is a celebrity, okay? And so I get to the home and I bring an agent with me. And it's in Encino Hills, next to Sherman Oaks, behind Brentwood area. And so I'm there. Then Bobby pops out of the car. I'm like, and they're driving a Range Rover, and I'm like, oh, damn, it's the Wu-Tang Clan. Oh shit! And so he ends up being the nicest guy. We go out to later on. We go out to lunch. He's a vegan, and then super nice guy, super great family. And then he's telling me, yeah, I've got this new movie coming out, Iron Fist, and then Iron Fist 2 came out, and then now, you know. Wu-Tang Clan, by the way, that shirt that I wear, the Wu-Tang Clan shirt, that gets me some of the most like nods, like when I'm walking. I'm like, awesome. Okay. And then I'll tell you one that we didn't end up closing, but it was great because I did end up connecting with him. And then I connected with somebody else because of it. So it was a Zillow lead. So for those of people that say Zillow and Realtor.com don't work, they just don't have the systems and processes, right? So Zillow lead comes through and I pick up the phone, talk to him, and then he wants to see this $18 million home in Beverly Hills, okay? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, you know, we're talking. I'm like, you know, you can't just kind of show up to see the home. We need proof of funds. We need a lot of stuff. They need to know that you're a real person. And then he's like, there's a pause. And he's like, can I be candid with you? I'm like, yeah, of course. Go ahead. He's like, have you ever heard of Tinder? I'm like, yeah, I've heard of Tinder. He's like, well, I'm their CEO. I'm like, get the hell out of here. So he's like, no, really, I am. I'm like, because I said, get the hell out of here. He's like, really?
What a great script. Where is that in the script?
Dude, I lost my script book that day. So he goes, no, really, I am. He goes, Google it. I'm like, okay, I'm Googling it. So I'm Googling it. And I'm like, so, I mean, where do you live right now? He's like, well, I live in the area. I bought a home here for like $10 million before, and now I just want to upgrade. I like this home. I'm like, okay. I go, but dude, even if you're the CEO of Tinder, I'm still going to need proof of funds because these people don't know that you are or aren't the CEO of Tinder, right?
Yep.
And so one thing led to another. 3 days later, he sends me the proof of funds, right? And so, yeah, it ends up being the CEO of Tinder. So at the same time, I end up having lunch with, at the time, the CEO of Zillow, which was Spencer Raskoff.
Yep.
I'm in Beverly Hills. And I'm sitting there, we're having lunch, and he's like, hey, I just bought a home out here. I'm like, dude, why are you telling me you just bought a home?
Like, oh, breaking my heart.
I'm like, who would you use? He's like, well, I use the Altman brothers. I'm like, I know the Altman brothers, damn it. And so I think about it. I'm like, and I'm always a connector. I'm like, hey, Spencer, would it benefit you to connect with the CEO of Tinder, right? He's like, yeah, I wouldn't mind. So I connect both of them by text, and they end up doing a podcast together and end up chilling out. And I was like, yeah, nice. Right? So now I text with Spencer every once in a while. And I congratulated him for having that teaching position at Harvard now, which is pretty cool.
Man, I recently read one of his. I guess it was like the agenda of a class or
on the board. Yeah,
and it's like where he talked about how they like, you know, I don't want to get into the debate of all this because there's a lot of agents watching, but you know, he just talked about pushing the limits of Zillow, right? Like how far they push himself into the industry. So
even from the very beginning, when I sat down with him and the times I've talked to him, it's always been clear that from my conversations with him personally, he's always been more careful with the agents. Like he's actually cared a little bit more for the agents.
Not the case for Rich Barton.
Not the case for Rich, dude.
Yeah.
But you could totally see the shift instantly. When Spencer left, the shift happened like overnight.
Yeah.
And they've always wanted to get a piece. If they could, they would remove the agent instantly. It's no secret, right?
Redfin, they would all Rex, all of them.
Everybody would, man. It's not a secret. It's just part of the competition. And I think as leaders, Chris, you're an awesome leader. But as leaders, we need to demonstrate the type of leadership we have through the mindset that we have, and that mindset goes a long way. Because you read the book The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek, where he talks about having an infinite mindset. That's the type of mindset you want to have, where you're okay with competition, and you bring them in and you say, hey, you know what? Welcome to my world. This is part of it, because strong competition is only going to make you stronger, because it's going to differentiate what you do. It's going to really set aside, what am I really freaking good at? That's what I'm going to stick to. It's okay that I have competition.
I love that you're saying that. So I don't know if you know this, but I think you know who Tim Heil is.
Yeah, I know Tim. Yeah.
So Tim and I got started in real estate full-time in 2010, and we both started hammering expireds. And we both grew up in Austin, but we didn't know each other. We grew up different sides of town. And, I started noticing a pattern. When I would go on an appointment, they were constantly saying at the end of the appointment, well, we're interviewing this other guy that's kind of young like you. He talks pretty fast and he seems super energetic about getting our business, and we need to think about it overnight. And I heard that for about 6 months, and either I was going to, and they're interviewing on these expired listings, like 2010, there's a lot of expired listings back then, right?
Yep.
And so I'm going on 15, 20 expired appointments a month. I'm hearing this over and over and over. And I'm like, who the hell is this guy? And I end up meeting Tim at a birthday party. And I'm like, oh my God, you're the mother, and when I met, I was expecting something so much different, and when I met Tim and he's like this nice guy, and I'm like, there's no reason why I can't compete or do better than Tim, right? And it was like this massive paradigm shift in my mind. And I actually got involved in sales coaching to improve my skills, converting expireds, and my results shot through the roof, and my team grew super, super fast. And it's kind of what stemmed the idea of the book. But I honestly, got better in that in my respective market because of Tim. And Tim and I still know each other. He lives down the road from me. And we're constantly kind of using each other as a measuring stick to keep pushing the limits of each other. And so, I think it's, if someone's listening to this and they've got somebody in their market that they, maybe in their mind right now, they don't like them, they should maybe flip that and be like, man, I'm going to use this as the gas to light the fire to improve and get better and better and better. And I might encourage somebody to go meet that person, that's their biggest competitor, it may shift their mind about where they can go.
Well, I think what I love about what you said is that you don't have to envy your competitor. You don't have to wish that they were dead, right? You don't have to wish that they would go away. You don't have to be jealous. The thing that shifts is when you shift and you say, you know what? They're a worthy competitor and they're pushing me to be better. Because without them, I wouldn't push myself to that next level. I wouldn't want to be better, because guess what? There's nothing better than me out there. So that worthy competition only makes you better, right? And I see that all the time with me.
Well, Tristan, you recently started writing it's a new email newsletter, basically.
Yeah, it's a new email newsletter. Started at December 31st of 2019. So what, a month? Not even.
And it's called, what's the name?
It's called A Brilliant Tribe.
A Brilliant Tribe.
Yeah, A Brilliant Tribe.
So I've read, you sent out 2 emails, I believe, right?
So yeah, I send out 2 emails a week. Saturday morning is the email that it's more like, hey, look, this is a thought. And I go deeper into that thought. It's usually something that we can learn to see the world a little differently. That'll help us grow as a person, as a leader, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That it's more like a small essay. And then on Tuesday morning, so today, shit, I don't even know what day it is. Today, Tuesday, I send out one that's more broken down, and it says, here's what I'm doing, here's what I'm reading. articles, books. Here's what I'm watching. Here's what I just bought, and here's what I'm working on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the dynamic of the email.
So, the one you sent out this morning, I was talking to you before we hit record on here, really spoke to me. And this podcast is titled CEO Secrets. And, I think we both can agree there's no real secrets out there. It's just about seeking knowledge from others and trying to learn and grow. And I feel like, though, what I do feel like is a secret from the perspective of agents out there that are crushing it as individual agents, and they're selling 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 homes, and they're tired of working nights and weekends and missing out on, times with their kids and, significant others that are pissed off at them because they're working all the time. And like, perhaps it's finding the people to collaborate with or to learn from, but, learning how to become a better leader in the sense of like, how can you go and teach other people to follow in your footsteps and not make the same mistakes you did and help them turn around and sell 20, 30, 40, 50 homes. And what are the secrets to help you become that leader and CEO to lead other people to success? In the email you sent this morning, I felt like most of the email were topics specific to becoming a better leader. How long have you been kind of entrenching yourself in books around leadership? And, what is this something you've always done? Did you just get involved in this? Like, when did the flip happen for you? And like,
dude, that's I don't know when it happened. I've never been asked that question. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate that. That's a good question. I think the shift, let me think back. When I was younger, I come from a really poor background. So grew up gangs all around me. My parents, we lived in a one room. We all lived in a room, right? Mm-hmm. Parents and me growing up. Mm-hmm. And then we progressively grew. My mom worked her ass off to get us out of there. And then we progressed and grew. And then I saw that I was part of all that. And then she was able to afford me later going into private school. And it was a private Christian school. And I noticed the difference from going to North Hollywood Elementary School. I would get beat up or try to get beat up. I'd have to run super fast, right? and then going through private school, and it was completely different. I didn't have to watch out for my back. I didn't have to do the things I was doing before. And so I noticed that difference because I wasn't born into that world. And as I grew, when I got into college, I started noticing that those things that I learned in high school, in private high school, because I was surrounded by a different group of people, all these people came from affluent families, right? They were doing very well. And my mom was like scraping to get me in there, barely. Like credit cards, everything maxed out to just get me there. Wow. And so I noticed very early on that the people you surround yourself with really creates what Jim Collins says. Jim Collins wrote from Good to Great, and Built to Last.
Yep.
He says it's hulak, right? It's those people that you surround yourself with offer you these opportunities that you wouldn't otherwise have. And I thought, wow, that's so true. So I learned it early on, and I thought, well, since in college, I'm not surrounded by the people that I want to be surrounded with, and I'm not that great at finding people to go out and talk to and have meetings with. So why don't I just read these amazing books from people that have done amazing things? And they're not necessarily all amazing people in every category, right? They may not be emotionally intelligent, but they've accomplished great things in their business, or they may not have done great things in their business, but they're emotionally intelligent. So a little bit of everything. And I thought, why not just dive deep? And then what I learned as I was learning is, well, like the CEO of Instagram, he says, I topic stack when I read. And so I was like, what the hell is that? He's like, well, if I want to learn a topic really well, like I want to learn team building, Chris, right? I'm going to grab your book, and I'm going to grab other books that have to do with team building. And I'm going to grab 5, 6, 7 books that are highly recommended. I'm going to read all of them back to back to back to back, mm-hmm. so that it all has to do with the exact same topic, so that I can stack quickly on top of each other and grow. Instead of saying, hey, well, today I'm going to read this book on on working out, and tomorrow or the next week I'm going to read this book on focusing, and they're a little scattered, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what I learned is as you topic stack and as you read more and you surround yourself with those people through what you listen to, what you read, and eventually who you hang out with, that really matters. And I learned that now, thinking back out loud with you on this, I learned that in high school. I learned that it was really important in high school from that whole process.
When did you become a licensed agent?
I think I had a year left in college. A month left in college, and I got my real estate license. So 2003, I think 2003 or 2004.
And when did you decide to take the jump from being a solo agent to building a team?
Right when the crash happened, I switched over to Craigslist to getting all those leads. I couldn't handle that many leads on Craigslist because I was that annoying guy that was posting every minute. Right? That was me. So I was like, I can't handle these leads. What the hell do I do? So I created the process of handling those leads and then started a team from that.
What were some of your early struggles with your first team you created?
Not understanding how to lead. Just assuming that people would want to succeed in this business as much as I wanted to. Yeah. Right. Expectations.
So now, obviously 10 plus years have passed since you started your first team. What have been some of your, the key things you've learned when it comes to the recruitment and selection process of people you hire to your team?
I think it starts with when you're hiring them, right? You allow a certain type of person to come into your team. And if it's that wrong person, it's that wrong character, it can ruin that environment for you and for the team. So we're really careful as to who we hire, if they're going to fit. I don't care if you've closed 100 transactions. If your attitude is all screwed up, you're not going to be on the team.
How do you measure people in Southern California from a production perspective? Because, the price points are substantially bigger. Can you, mandate certain production minimums to be able to, have the opportunity to work company generated leads?
Yeah. So what I do is I don't base it on that because, you close one, like we closed a $33 million transaction, and it changes your world, right?
Yep.
So, we don't base it so much on that. I really base it strongly on character and on that desire to want to grow. And I've failed so many times on hiring the wrong people, dude.
Yep.
By now we have this outline, and it's not just me hiring, because I realized that if it was just me hiring, I'd hire anybody. I'd be like, "Oh, you're hired. I like you." It's my whole team. All of my team leaders hire together.
Have you read the books The Rare Find and Culture Code?
Culture Code, yes. It just came out, but I have not read The Rare Find. What is that?
So it's written by a guy named George Anders, and there's some great, I've picked up, speaking of stacking ideas specific to key pillars of your business. In real estate, there's not really any major advantage from one company to the next, whether it's a team or brokerage. There's not any massive advantage. They're all marginal improvements.
Yep.
So really the only advantage any one company has over the other are the people within the organization. And the author spent decades and decades following around different organizations like Teach for America, a nonprofit, following around Special Forces, following around, people at Goldman Sachs. And the whole thesis of the book is you were speaking to character. It's the character traits of people that excel at a very high level. And, my key takeaways from that book were some of the exercises that these organizations put in place to vet out talent from a selection perspective to make sure they have super high level, competent, ambitious people within the organization. And so the most inspiring example was he talked about this organization called Teach for America. And Teach for America, if I remember, I read this book 5-6 years ago. I believe it got started in the 1960s, and it was a nonprofit. And they were, at its inception, they were recruiting kids out of Ivy League schools. And they were taking these kids out of Ivy League schools that, they didn't need a high-paying job. And they were coming from some of the most respected universities in the country. A lot of these kids were coming out of Harvard, Yale, Stanford, Brown, the best universities, and Teach for America would put them in high schools around the country that were performing very poorly. And like, for example, like speaking of LA, like, high school, and you know this to be true, and they'd put them in high schools where kids were getting shot from gangs and drugs and all kinds of craziness.
Yeah.
And there's actually a movie made about this back in the early 90s called Dangerous Minds with Michelle Pfeiffer.
Oh, dude. Yeah. I watched that.
So in the 60s and 70s, Teach for America was a failing organization. They'd put these amazing teachers that came with like the most expensive college, pedigrees you could go out and get, and put them in these schools, and they weren't improving the kids' ability to graduate. In the 80s, they hired somebody that did not fit the typical bill. And this is predicated on the movie Dangerous Minds. She was in the military, which was like highly unusual for Teach for America. And she, she just went to a, standard college, like not an Ivy League college. And she went into some school where, it was horrible, like horrific stuff happening, drugs and people getting shot and killed. And every single one of her students graduated. And prior to that, the previous 2 decades, they would have a hard time getting 1 or 2 kids to graduate from an entire class. And so the real life Michelle Pfeiffer became head of HR, and she started implementing a practical application to the interview process, where she would set up a mock classroom. And she wanted to see, how did teachers actually perform in a real world setting and see them in action, so she could measure these, innate characteristics that we all have as human beings. And it's through seeing them in action, she could measure things like perseverance and focus and, staying committed to an agenda and not getting thrown off by unruly kids, for example.
Yeah.
And these are, and this is what the author alludes to. It's these characteristics that, help people become massively successful, as being perseverant, focused, super committed, to the process. And, for you with your team in Malibu, I think obviously step one is like, make sure you have the right people on the bus from a culture perspective, so people feel like they're a part of something bigger than themselves, and people are all operating from a high frequency from a mindset perspective. But secondary thing is like, you got to make sure people have these human characteristics if they're going to be successful over the long term. And the only way we're going to see this in real estate is seeing them in action. And so setting up like mock buyer presentations, mock listing presentations, getting them to prospect through lead lists and seeing how they perform when somebody shuts them down is going to give you a good indicator of what's going to happen when you start giving them opportunities.
That's true. What I find, so you said a few things there. Perseverance, focus. Yes, I highly agree with you on that. There are other parts to it that I think are really important too after that. So focus is important. I don't know if you've heard the story where Warren Buffett and Bill Gates are in the same like dinner gathering, and then Bill Gates' dad stands up and says, "So I'm going to ask Bill and Warren to write something down and put it in a blank piece of paper and then give it to me and see if they have the same answer or what their answers are." So he turns around to both of them and says, "So tell me, what's the first word that comes to mind when you think of success, right? Or what has been the one word that you think of when you think of success?" So they write it down, they crumple it up, and then they give it to the dad. He opens it up, and both of them have the same answer. It's focus, right? Focus has been that secret, right? The ability to focus and the ability to just push everything else out. But I think one part that's after that, it's you're focusing, but what are you focusing on? And a lot of the agents that we help, if it's not clear to them what they're going to focus on, then they end up not succeeding, or they end up focusing on the wrong thing. So for the agents I have on the team, I've created this blueprint that I use to be able to grow Lab Coat Agents into a multi-million-dollar company, to be able to grow our team into a $1 million company. We have this, what I call a blueprint. So we all write these goals down, right, Chris? Every beginning of the year or throughout the year, we have these goals to list. And so what I thought is like, okay, that's cool. But what happens to the freaking list after, right? And we go to Tony Robbins and we go to all these places and they're like, yeah, focus on it, envision it, put it in front of you, reread it. I'm like, I did that for years. And I mean, there's other processes to this. So I thought, well, let me break it down. So I created a blueprint so that every single goal that you have on your list has a whole page. And the blueprint is broken down into, okay, your goal's at the top. Now write down your why. Why is this important to you? What's the problem you're solving? And then you find 3 strategies that support this goal. And each of these strategies, this is the good part, each of the strategies have 3 actions that are going to make these strategies come to life. And these actions go into your daily calendar, your daily, whatever you use. I use a written calendar. You can put it onto Google. But these actions, because they're broken down into actionable steps, they're helping you focus. They give you super, super clear direction as to where you want to go. And this is what helps our agents, because a lot of the times we get distracted. They're like, well, what was I doing? Right? Or, yeah, I'm doing this. And then you get caught on emails, social media, or just prospecting. You forget that your goal is this and it's broken down into this. And so we use that for everything. So for our goals for real estate, for our goals with our families, for our goals with our mind, working out, whatever, we've broken it down like that. And it's super clear.
Love that. That's freaking great, man. Yeah, I think that's probably one of the biggest reasons people fail in their first year. Like they just don't feel like they have a clear path.
Yeah.
They wake up and they don't know what to do when they show up in the morning.
Dude, very true. There's no clarity. There's no clarity.
I want to move. So we only have a couple minutes left, and we've first off, anybody listening to this should subscribe to 1. They should join Lab Coat Agents. 2. They should get a copy of your subscription to your newsletter that you're sending out.
Yeah, if they want
a brilliant tribe.
I don't even know where to subscribe on that because it's so new. Hold on, let me think. I'm working on the blog site. If you just want to go to my full name, so it's tristanahumada.com. I think it's being worked on, and you can sign up there. Try it there. If not, just message me on Facebook. I'll add you.
So the thing I want to shift over to, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but I do want to appease people that are, trying to figure out how to get more efficient with their time. Mm-hmm. And for a lot of agents out there buying leads online, for example, they spend a lot of time spinning their wheels, trying to find the 1 out of 100 leads that's going to end up converting, or 2 out of 100. Mm-hmm. You had created a course at some point. I don't know if you still have this going. I think it was around putting automated systems in place to become more efficient. What are your favorite lead sources, and what systems are you using to help automate the nurturing process of leads to try to help your agents be more efficient, so that you're putting in front of them opportunities that are people that want to talk, versus like one thing I think going on. I don't know if you guys are finding this in California, but the DNC list is becoming a bigger and bigger deal. People's cell phones are saying spam on it now, right? So like if you're Mojo dialing for any length of time using Mojo, like there's a good chance your phone could start saying spam, which does happen to us. So, like if you're trying to prepare for the future, as this problem only perpetuates and becomes more and more difficult to cold call people, what are some of the systems you like using to help automate the cultivation of leads so that agents are only talking to people that want to talk to them? And what are those lead sources? Yeah,
so lead sources for me are still my database and Sphere, even though I love online leads like Facebook ads, Google lead ads, mm-hmm. And Zillow's still good. Those are still good for us for quick turnaround. Realtor.com, Zillow. I don't use Realtor.com anymore, but I know that the quick turnaround there is there. You just have to have the processes in place. So I would say, look, if you're newer or if you're struggling in the business, I always look back and I say, well, what happens when that happens to our team, right? I look and I say, well, you can do one thing and it's super easy. You go to your Sphere, right? You pull open your phone and you start with A's and you end at Z, and you have one goal. And that's, I tell everybody, we do this once a year where we invite 30 of our Sphere, people that are close to us, people that know you, Chris. We invite 30 people in 30 days to go have coffee with us. And some of my agents have done 35. Some of them have done 20, right? Mm-hmm. The goal is to get 30. It's easy text. Hey, Chris, it's Tristan. You have some time to get some coffee, man? It's been a little bit. Maybe we can catch up. It's like, yeah, all right, cool. I've got time on Thursday. You want to just chill? Like, yeah, or you want to get some beer? I know one of my agents loves to go to the bar. So, they hit up the bar with their clients. And so what we found is that just these 30 in 30, all of a sudden propels them. One, it changes their mindset because it's like all good shit happening back to back. And then because you're taking them out and you're shutting up and you're listening to what they have to say, Chris, I come to you, we have coffee, we sit down. So Chris, dude, how are you doing, man? Tell me, what's up? How's your family? And then you just shut up and you listen. And then they're telling you. And then your goal as you're listening to them is, Chris, as you're talking to me, I'm going to find a place to interject and see if I can help you. Like if you're telling me about, you have kids, Chris?
Yep.
All right. So how old are your kids?
3 and 8 months.
Oh, that's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
That's cool. So you're talking to me and you're telling me about your kids and I know how important it is to you. I'm going to see if I can interject at any point and see if I can help you in any way. And at some point you're going to come and ask me during that conversation, well, how are you doing, Tristan? And I'm going to make it short, super short. And I'm going to be like, Chris, I'm doing pretty good, man. Real estate's been good to me. So, if you know anybody, just send them my way. But, back to you, dude. It's been a while. When was the last time we talked? And then you shifted it back, right? Because go ahead.
Let me interrupt you. So, like, if someone's listening to this and they're already crushing their sphere, right? And like they're doing 30, 40, 50, 60 deals and they are starting to bring on agents and their agents are crushing their spheres and they're trying to accelerate their pipeline. Let's say, they go out and the team leader starts buying Zillow, Realtor, Google leads, Facebook leads. These are colder leads, right? People don't know you and you got to work a lot of them to close deals. Yep. What are your favorite tech systems, if you will, to help cultivate those leads, to tee up warmer opportunities, to cut down on the amount of time an agent has to spend chasing those leads?
Yeah, we use Agent Legend. That's easy. You can use Shout Boss too. Mm-hmm. But we use Agent Legend, and what we do is we create this whole process for our past clients. We have a year one and a 5-year one. For our sphere, we have a year one and a 5-year one, and it's mixed between text, voicemail, drop, email, a video email, and video text, and it's all giving value, right? So as soon as they come back to us, we see it and we can interject, or our ISAs interject at that point until we can bring them back. But this allows us to leverage technology really well.
Have you checked out Structurally?
I have, dude. And here's what I mean, nothing bad against Structurally, okay? Structurally is just, it's not true AI. It's not real. It's, they use keywords, and the keywords just respond to certain text that comes through. So let's say the client says, I'm looking for a house, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and I want to use a VA loan. Then they're identifying certain keywords and they're responding a certain way. Mm-hmm. The difference between a Structurally, and I'm glad you're talking about this, and what I'm building. So what we're building it out with AI guys, artificial intelligence and coders. We're using true AI and real AI, which means it's machine learning. And we're using TensorFlow with Google. So you can Google TensorFlow, look it up. And TensorFlow allows you to use real machine learning. So Chris, you're going to upload all of your past clients into the thing I'm creating. It's called True AI. Now, when you upload it, our AI system is going to start working either as your assistant or as you, whoever, and it's going to start communicating with them, right? As your client responds back from whatever text or whatever message we're sending, the AI then, because it's already been working with thousands of people that are, in this real estate world, they're going to say, whoa, hold on just a second. Screw the keywords, because this isn't just an automated process. Let's look at the best responses from everyone that's using this and everybody that's responded, and let's use this response. All of a sudden, because we're using TensorFlow, which Google created specifically for AI, right? We can do that. So now we use everybody's best responses, and it's true AI. So the same way we're using DARE, dynamic ads for real estate on Facebook and Instagram, where that's real AI. It's going through, you're seeing our IDX feed on Facebook and on Instagram, and as soon as you engage, well, it remembers that you engaged for 4 bedrooms, 3 baths for 400,000 in whatever city. And now the next time it pops up on your feed, it's that specifically. It's not anything else. That's AI. What you see with Structurally, what you see with Agent Legend, that's not AI.
I hope when you guys get this developed, y'all use RealSync for a bi-directional integration to all of the CRMs out there, because the biggest frustration for us as real estate team owners is getting your agents to toggle between multiple systems.
Mm-hmm.
And so RealSync created a bi-directional integration to Structurally and a couple others. And whenever a lead responds to Structurally, for example, the notes get saved within the lead record of the CRM, and it triggers a to-do activity for the agent to call that lead because they just had a conversation. And then the agent can load up, that lead, see the conversation, call the customer right away, and they get the text via phone. So I hope y'all get that set up, because I think there's two thought processes around your technology stack in real estate. One is you build the all-in-one solution, which is like what Keller Williams is trying to do.
Yeah.
And the other methodology is you have a lot of different fragmented pieces of technology, but it's a best-in-class stack of technologies. So it's like the best, like YLOPO at generating dynamic Facebook leads or whatever, right? Or the best, call capture system for your signs, or VoicePad or ProQuest or Call Action, one of those. And then you got the best CRM, Boomtown, Sierra, whatever you're using, Salesforce, and And then you got transaction management, SkySlip, Dotloop, whatever. And then at the bottom you got accounting. So you instead of having an all-in-one like KW is doing, right, trying to build an all-in-one solution, you go and pick and choose which ones you want, and then you just get them to speak to one another. So then your agents only have to log into the CRM and only work out of the CRM, and then your admin can work out of transaction management, and your office manager can work out of accounting.
That's the key, dude.
No double data entry, and people
I hate double data entry. I hate that everything works so it's just fragmented, right? That's what I hate. So we're looking to do this. We're looking to solve one problem, and that's long-time nurture, but that's real and authentic, right? And the only way to do that, we thought, is to bring real AI into this, because most of the agents out there, they have great intentions of following up with their sphere or their past clients or their whole database, but they don't, right? And if we can make it easy so that it's authentic and real, and it's coming from either your assistant or from you forever, because this is not keyword or automation, it's just going on forever. It changes the way that we can do business.
And what's that Google thing you mentioned? Did you say Tensor? I'm writing this down.
So TensorFlow. TensorFlow is what backs a lot of AI, and also you've heard of Watson, IBM's massive computer brain.
Yep.
So it's right now it's Watson, and you have TensorFlow. Watson though is more expensive, and so we decided to go with TensorFlow because it's, first of all, it's open, and it worked a lot better with what we wanted to do.
Cool. Are you still going after expireds? I remember you've done some videos going after expireds.
The automation with expireds, I love that, dude.
Yeah. Are you still dropping voicemails and texts?
Yeah, but the thing is, it's different. So one thing that we noticed really quickly, I think it was 3 months in, we're we can't drop texts and voicemails to people we haven't talked to.
Yeah.
Right. So we rapidly changed that and said, well, everybody that I talk to that's a for sale by owner or expired, right, they're going to go on this drip. And if I think that they're going to sell sooner rather than later, they go on the quicker drip for expireds. And that's, so let's say I just talked to you, Chris, and you're going to sell in I think you're going to sell in the next 6 months, even though you're telling me no, like everybody does. Then I'm going to say, no problem, Chris. Is it okay if we stay in touch with you just over the next few months, just in case we have a buyer that comes through that may want to buy your home or may want to offer something? Yeah. Go ahead. And they just want to get me on. Awesome. Chris, I've got your cell phone number here. This is it. Well, what's your email address? And now you just give me your email address. So now I have both. And now I put you into our automated process through Agent Legend, so that as soon as I hang up with you, right, I take a picture of this information and I send it over to my virtual assistant. My virtual assistant knows to upload it into Agent Legend, and they instantly get a text. So the text is going to be, "Hey, Chris, it's Tristan. We just hung up. Thanks for talking to me. I'll be in touch with you."
What are you doing to get expireds to call you versus you cold calling them?
You know what? It was the original thing that we were doing before, where we were automating the process. Every expired that came out, we were texting and calling them. But I just felt kind of scummy doing it that way.
Yeah. So, do you do direct mail to expireds?
We don't do direct mail. We have little farm areas that we do instead, and those work well.
Do you run custom audiences? You can take the expireds and run a custom audience on Facebook to push a.
We've done that before too. Yeah. It helps a lot with branding. It doesn't help a lot with bringing back people.
Mm-hmm.
So we definitely do that, and then we include Dare on that. So on the custom audiences.
What's the silver bullet in expireds besides calling and doing the automated email text follow up?
Besides that,
yeah,
stopping by their home and mailing them. Yeah, you can't beat that, dude. You cannot beat that. I'll end with this story. So I call him up, expired, on the beach, Malibu, and I call him up. We talk, and he's like, "Yeah, you know what? I'm busy right now, but stop by if you can." I'm like, "Okay." So hang up. I drive by. I stop the rest of the expireds because this is like a $10 million home on the beach. Hang up, stop by, drive in, and then the doors open. Right, the gate, because they have a gate in the front, and then they face the beach. So the gate's in the front, and the door's open. But I don't go in. I just buzz, and I go, "Hey, I think his name's Bill. Hey, Bill, it's Tristan." He's like, "Yeah, come on in." I don't think he knew who the hell I was anyway. But I walk in, we talk. He's like, "So I'm remodeling the kitchen. Check it out." He just gets right into it, and so he starts telling me about the home. And then starts telling me that the person that lived there before was Charlize Theron, right? And that the reason this one expired was because the agent didn't know how to market it correctly. So now he's taking it off the market. He's going to remodel it and put it up for more. And I'm like, oh, dude, it's a lot to work with right now. You can want more money because you didn't sell it for less, right?
Yeah.
And so we get to talking, and now we're in the process. We become kind of friendly, and it's from stopping by. He got to see me, right? And so it goes a long way, dude, just going in there, talking to somebody in person, and having them differentiate you from everybody else that's calling.
The challenge, in a big market with lower price points is stopping by, right? Like if you have one target that's a $10 million listing, that makes sense to stop by. But if you're selling $200,000 houses and you need to crank out a lot of deals, stopping by becomes difficult.
It becomes a very difficult thing. And I was dealing with that in a lower price point. So what I would do is every home that was close to me that I thought was worth it for me, I would stop by because it's within a 5-minute drive for me. Mm-hmm. So I'd make it part of the activity of me going home or coming back or going into the office.
Yep.
And that's how I would do it.
You just gave me a good idea for my own team, how I can logistically do that with a lot of listing agents. So that's good. Hey, Tristan, dude, this has been a great episode. I've learned a lot. I just Googled TensorFlow, learned something new about that, and learned something new about Structurally. I still like Structurally. I guess I still need to understand more differences between the two.
But dude. Yeah, you'll see the difference. There's nothing wrong with Structurally, but it's just like Agent Legend, right? It's like
so. Hey, don't forget about the RealSync thing to integrate your AI right into CRMs.
Oh yeah, RealSync. Yeah, we're gonna totally do that, dude.
Yeah, they're growing like crazy. I was one of their first beta customers, right, for RealSync, and then I also personally invested in them to make it, to make it go to the next level.
They came to one of our events. Yeah, the Lab Coat Agents events in Coronado, I think.
Yep.
If you can reconnect me so that we can do that, and then also I'm going to invite them to come again. We're having it in LA this year.
Cool. One of my favorite tech tools right now that RealSync integrated is Sisu.
I love Sisu, dude.
Yeah, so RealSync is the one that's basically sucking in all the data and pushing it into Sisu, so you have a dynamic scoreboard for your sales team.
Easy. I love, dude. Sisu is one of my favorite things.
Yeah. Well, Sisu and RealSync is a 1-2 punch.
All right, reconnect me to the guys, please.
Yeah, I will. All right, Tristan. Hey, man, thanks again. I know we're way over on time. I really appreciate you coming on. And for those of you guys that don't know Tristan, be sure to check out Lab Coat Agents and be sure to check out his a Brilliant Tribe.
There you go.
Newsletter. Yeah.
A brilliant.
And then you guys got a cool event coming up. Y'all do a really great event every year. And this sounds like it's going to be in LA this coming summer.
Yeah, either Hollywood or closer to me in Westlake Village. We're in between, but we'll find out.
Cool. If you guys listen to this, if this is your first time to be listening to this, be sure to subscribe on iTunes. We've also Got a private Facebook group where we air these via Facebook Live. And you guys kind of get like first dibs access to these and ask questions as we go through the video. Tristan, I was like doing such a good job trying to just listen to you. I haven't been paying attention to the Facebook group, but if anybody has any questions, I'll relay them back to you.
Yeah, dude, add me to your group and I can answer them there too.
Okay, cool. Sounds
Thanks,
good.
Guys.
All right, man. Great connecting. Bye,
Thanks,
Tristan.
Guys.